Good morning, LBC Radio. Oh, wait a minute. It's afternoon, isn't it?
Yep, it's afternoon.
Afternoon already. Welcome to the Story Podcast. My name is Corey Rosen, and today I have a super awesome guest, Mr. Noah Gibney. Noah Gibney is a 15-year-old musician from Wyomissing, PA. Recently, he released an EP co-written with Grammy-nominated musician G. Love. The EP, the Serendipity Sessions, even has reached President Biden, which led to Noah getting to meet Mr. Biden. Currently, Noah has been doing shows with his soul jam band group, the Noah Gibney Trio. You can catch them in Philly, Lehigh, Berks, and Lancaster areas of PA. You can find Noah and all of his projects on his link tree, Noah Gibney. Noah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. So, you're 15 as of right now.
Yep.
When did you start getting into music? What's that story?
I'd say I always had an interest for music, even when I was a toddler. Like around 3 or 4 is kind of when I started picking up instruments. I would say the first moment when I realized that music was what I wanted to do was at like around 3 or 4. When I was with my family at the West Reading market, and I saw this guy playing named Bob Hassler, and I was like, wow, he was a blues guitar player and singer, and I was like, wow, that music is amazing, and I want to do that. So the story is that eventually my dad actually asked him if I could just like kind of set up like a bongo or ukulele with him, and he was like the coolest guy and was like, sure. And then playing with him, that was kind of like, wow, I can do this, even at just such a young age. And then from then on, I started picking up more instruments like the piano and the guitar. So
At
yeah.
what point did you think you started making your own music?
I would say at like 4 or 5, I would always kind of start by playing some like chord progressions and stuff like that, and just being like, "Oh, this is cool." And I would say that's kind of where my original music kind of started forming. I would say.
So, how has that, obviously, from a 3-year-old to now a 15-year-old, a
Yeah.
lot changes, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
what are some of the things that you have prided yourself in regards to changes as from a 3-year-old to a 15-year-old?
I would say like from each year that I've been playing music, I felt like the thing that I've been most happy about is my growth mindset of just kind of getting better as the years have progressed. I would say like I used to like when I was about like 11 or 12 is when I started doing like real full gigs, and I would say
Mhm.
like from that was kind of the part where I was like, wow, I'm really doing this and playing music as a kind of a semi-professional career. Um, and then I'd say from now, like now I'm expanding from Berks County and playing in Philly and Lehigh County and Lancaster County now. So and now I have a band too. So I'd say I just am happy with the amount of growth that I've made.
What's the first thing what's your reaction? You're a 13, 15-year-old at that time, and you ask all these musicians, "Hey, do you want to be in a band together?" What's their reaction?
I thought so. I was kind of doing a gig with this guy named Matt Cullen who plays drums in my band. And I've known him because he's been a friend of my family. So he actually also took over the West Reading Market gig when I was about 7 or 8, and he'd also let me sit in there. So
Mhm.
that was also really cool. But he invited me back up a couple of years later to play with him and do a jam kind of thing at this place called Liberty Tap Room. And he had a bass player with him named Chris Kerr, who and we all kind of clicked when we were playing together, doing some of the original music. And I was offered to do another gig. Like at the time, I was really just doing solo gigs, so I didn't have a band yet. But I was offered to do the gig, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we just do this as a trio? And they both were really into that idea, and they decided to play with me. And ever since, I've been playing with those guys, and we've grown so much as a band, I would say. So,
Nice. It's probably a good thing because if I had a 13-year-old say, "Hey, you want to be in my band?" I'd be like, "You sure?"
yeah, as most people would. I mean, that was just very kind of them, and I don't know if they like realized that like it was that like I would be where I am today. I would say but they were just kind enough to jump on to what I was doing, and they were very helpful in
Oh, I'm
guiding
sure.
me. Yeah, it's just been amazing because they both have great music careers. So
So, Where are you since you're only 15?
Hmm.
Where are you allowed to gig at?
I'd say I haven't really had many issues with doing gigs at places, but I'd say like I can play at a lot of the bars. Like as long as they have food, it seems like then they're fine with me playing there.
Mm,
But just like a couple, like I can't really do like the casino circuit, obviously, because I'm under
right.
21 or some of the nightclub stuff. But I've been like haven't had many issues, I would say, and especially like I think it's a better like now I'm 15 instead of 13. I would say like that or 13 or 14. I'd say that that's a better look for the bar. I'd say than having just like a little 13-year-old playing. But
Right. I'm curious. You started your career. This might be a little bit too personal, but let me know if I'm going too far. How has puberty ever changed your voice? Or
yeah, I mean, I say yeah, it definitely my voice dropped a bit from 12 to 13. I would say that's kind of when that kind of happened. But I like it was it took a little bit I'd say to get like adjusted to that, but I like my new voice I'd say now. So
do you have anything recorded before your voice dropped? And do you ever listen back and like
yeah. Yeah, this is my squeaky little voice. Yeah.
that's
It's
funny.
funny.
It is and it's always funny to hear the way your voice changes over a period of time, especially
Hmm.
when you regardless of puberty, whenever you first start like seriously singing seriously, right?
Hmm.
Your voice changes immensely. I know some people who from here in college when they started as a freshman, um, and just where they were then, it was like, oh, but now they're they're singing amazing.
Hmm.
How do you think you want to push your voice in new ways? What in your style?
I would say, like I'm just kind of curious how like if my voice will drop anymore or anything like that. But I don't know. But I guess we'll just have to see. But I like the voice that I have, I'd say, and it kind of fits my style. So hopefully it won't change too much. So
Speaking about your style, we have some of your songs. We had the first one, Mystery. Let's talk about that one.
sure, yeah. So that was one of the songs I got the chance to work with G Love on. I got to work with him during the pandemic, and we actually wrote 15 songs together, and the one called Mystery. So that was kind of I think that was like the eighth song we wrote. So we were already we got each other by then. And that song is kind of like a lot of the songs on the Serendipity Sessions have a kind of a similar message, I would say. And this one, like the idea of mystery and just kind of letting things just like take their path and just kind of going with it. That's kind of the main message is just to let things happen and that the right things will happen at the right time.
Where do you think that came from? That come from you or from him?
I think that kind of came from the both of us, I'd say. I always kind of like, as like, I know it's kind of an interesting topic for, I was 13 at the time, like for a 13-year-old to
Think that like
yeah,
about
but
that. Yeah.
I was kind of thinking of that because that was kind of a time period where I was like, I have like I'm gonna do this for real. Like this isn't like a gimmicky kind of thing. I want to be a full-time musician, and I'm like I wasn't sure how that was gonna pan out. So I was just kind of
Especially during the pandemic.
yes, yeah. Especially I actually think that the pandemic actually helped me as a musician. I would say because that was kind of before I was starting to do gigging and stuff like that. So that was actually happening at like the perfect kind of time because that's when because G Love was off the road because he wasn't able to tour because he was actually supposed to be in Japan and that was like the first thing that shut down.
Right.
But he couldn't be on the road, so then he was kind of trying to find other ways to further his career. So he was kind of doing some songwriting sessions and stuff like that. So actually, I kind of didn't really hear of him much before right before the pandemic is when I really got into his sound. And I was like, wow, some of his songs are just really, really, actually, like all of his songs are really amazing. But there's this one on this Sirius XM station called Drinking Wine that really got my attention. And it was just like a really great groove to it. And I was like, who the heck's this guy? And then my dad told me, yeah, this is G Love. I knew his music from the 90s and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And then I decided to reach out to him because I saw that he posted that he was doing some songwriting sessions. And I was like, I just wrote him and like a night before. And what he said is he was like, yeah, I'd be definitely interested in working with you. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So like he wrote right back to me like the night after. And I was like, that's so cool that he responded to me
Quickly, that quickly.
that
Too.
quickly. Yeah, it's like Yeah, I mean during the pandemic, so I guess no one had anything to do.
That's fair.
So yeah, it was kind of a combination of the both. But what happened was my parents were kind enough to have me have a lesson with him on my birthday. It was and it was the first song we wrote together, and it was a song about the pandemic called "Simple Song." And then after that, I felt like we just really clicked with how we were working together. And we ended up, yeah, as I said, writing 15 songs together, and we've been great friends, I'd say, ever since. So,
With that said, this is Mystery by G Love and Noah Gibney. And that was Mystery by G Love and Noah Gibney. Was that your voice or?
Yeah, that was my voice.
Really?
So, yeah, I know. I recorded that like about a year ago, I'd say. So my voice has changed since then too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what part did G Love have on that?
Mainly with that song, or with all the songs from the EP, we really just he was really just on for the songwriting part of that. Yeah, that was kind of where we worked together the most in that kind of part. So
cool. And that EP has gone a lot of places.
Yeah.
Tell me where it's gone.
I actually was pushing it out on the Spotify services and through CDs. And actually, this is kind of a funny story. I actually decided, I don't even know why I did this, but I decided to send my EP to our president, Joe Biden. And I don't even know why. I still don't even know why the heck I did this.
Well, here's the question: How would you even do that?
Well, yeah, I just saw his email. Like, there's like something that you can on his website or on the president website where it's like email Joe Biden, like thank you messages or stuff like that. And I just was like, I guess I'll
try.
Yeah, I guess I'll put something there. I don't even know why, but and then so I sent that kind of in. I think May was when I sent that, like right when it dropped. The EP dropped. And then a couple months later in like July, I think is when I got this random phone call, and this is really funny. So it says unknown caller from Washington D.C. and I was just like sitting on my couch with my parents, I think just watching TV or something, and they were like, "Oh, I guess you can answer it." Like I'm thinking like this is just a spam caller, like, "Oh, where's your warranty expired or something like that?" Yeah,
that you don't even have.
Yeah, that I don't. Yeah, I don't even have. And then I was like, and they were like, "Are you Noah Gibney?" And I was like, "Did I do something like wrong or something?" Like I was just like, my face got all red and stuff.
Is this the FBI? Huh?
And then it was like, yeah. So President Biden heard your album and he'd like to visit you because he's gonna be in Macungie, PA. And I was like, what the heck? And still, like, my parents were like, this is a scam. What are you getting your hopes up for and stuff? And then my mom just, like, researched this woman who contacted me, and she seemed legit. Like, it was, like, her job. I think it was, like communications director or something like that. But
so it all checked out.
Yeah, it seemed like it was legit, and he was going to be in Macungie, PA. So we decided, yeah, we're going to go, of course. And it was kind of an interesting place, like with the security. So like we had to like wait like outside for a bit, and like all this Secret Service were there, and it was like I was like, what? This is all really scary. Interesting. And then so like there were certain people that were like there just for the speech, and then also like a couple of people got like these like red wristbands and I guess we got them. So that meant that we were going to be visiting President Biden. And so, like, when it happened, like, it was like all the people with the red wristbands come here. And then, like, we took, like, 4 lefts and 4 rights. And, like, it was almost like an obstacle course through, like, the Mack truck plant. And then we got to the room. It was, like, this waiting room with where the photo shoot and meet and greets and stuff would be. So, and then we were just waiting out there. And then there were some other really cool people that were there, too. Like, Josh Shapiro was there, and also the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, was there. And it was cool meeting them, too. And I also gave them my CD, too. But also, one thing that I wanted to do was see if maybe President Biden could sign my CD because I had one signed for him just because I thought that was cool. We could trade it off. And this woman was like kind enough, like most of the time we don't do this just because we have to like investigate it if it was like something like a threat or something like that, which it obviously wasn't, but they have to take those precautions and stuff like that. But so we handed her the CD, and I was like, I saw the Secret Service and I was like panicking, and I was like, do you know how like there's like if it's like a red button, like don't press, and then you like want to press it. So I was like they said like this woman who was helping me, she was like, you don't need to say anything to the Secret Service, and I was like, okay, I guess. Like I was just freaking out, and I was like, is it all right if I hand a CD? And they're like, oh, I guess. Like I was like it got all silent and stuff like that. And it was like freaking me out, and I was like, oh well. And it was funny. And then so like there was a time like when we were in line to meet him, and then like all of a sudden I saw President Biden. I was like, holy crap, this is actually happening. It was crazy. And then my whole family went to this, and we got to when we got to visit him, he was just like a great guy, and he was like making everyone feel like super comfortable. And it was cool that he actually like remembered me. And he was kind of telling me stories about how his dad was like a saxophone player and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't know that, but it was yeah, his dad played music or something like that. But it was really cool getting to meet him. And then after that, so we got to go see the speech, and I was like, I wasn't sure if he got the CD or not. And it's funny, like this guy kept saying like, "Yo, Noah," like, and I was like, "What the heck is this all about?" And then I was like, did I do something wrong or something like that? And here he has the CD for me signed, and it was a really cool message. It was like, remember me when you're on the charts. And I was like, of course I'll remember you're the president. Of course I'll remember that.
That's a hard forget
that
right
was
there.
Yeah, that was a great story. And since then I've actually gotten some like postcards and Christmas cards from him, and I think I'll actually be able to visit him again sometime in the fall at the White House. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was an amazing story that of course I'll never ever forget. So
Yeah, remember me when I hit the charts. Like, I'm not gonna forget.
Of
meeting
course.
the president of the United
Yeah.
States ever.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. It's. I don't even know where to begin with that one. It
Yeah.
reminds me. When if are you familiar with the Boy Scouts at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an Eagle Scout, and so whenever you become an Eagle Scout, you get a presidential letter saying congratulations. It's somewhat personal, but it's like copy paste kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's still you get like the presidential seal. I'm pretty sure it's either them or somebody. They send you an American flag as well. So I still have mine. I got mine from Trump. Regardless of any
yeah,
opinion.
of course.
It's incredible that I have it still with me, because it's like, oh, I got the letter from the president. This is my name in it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like no matter what, like anything from the president of the United States, like it's just
Regardless
like,
who it
wow,
is, yeah.
that's amazing. But yeah.
So, what notoriety at all, if you have, from that, or has anything come of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's just a cool story to tell. I'd say like it's cool. Like I can but it's always funny when like even like teachers this year were like, "So you met the president? Like what the heck?"
Yeah, right.
Like people, it's a fun story to tell that is really unique that I don't think many people can say they experience. So it's always just cool to like when. I mean, I don't really like to try and bring it up. Like I like to have other people discover that, and then when they ask me, of course, I'll tell the full story. So, yep.
So what? You're still 15. Are you still in school?
Yep.
I'd imagine so.
I still go to Wyomissing junior, senior high school, and I'm in 10th grade.
So what is it like with your classmates or friends? Is there any like, oh, that's Noah Gibney, or is it just like, oh, that's Noah?
It's kind of somewhere in the middle. I mean, I'd say it's just like I go to school and I have normal friends, and I wouldn't say like it's kind of a tough age like to like where people are like into music and stuff like that, because like it's almost like I want to do that. Like music is where I want to be where my career I want that to be. So like kind of like when you're in like your teens and stuff like that, it's kind of like it's not like this fantasy like, oh, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. Like it's kind of like, oh, I either am going to do this or I'm not going to do this, and that's kind of like where people are like kind of like starting to think like, is this really going to happen or not? Because it's like it's not like a fantasy, I'd say.
Because you're actively living it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So what do you think for college? Do you think college at all? Or?
Yeah, I think that I think I'll be ending up going to study music as at a college level. I'd say the place that I'd love to go to is the Berklee College of Music.
Austin, right?
Yep. That's definitely somewhere where I see myself going. So, yes.
What would you want to do? Is it music production, audio? Do you want to be your own composer and or own producer rather? Or
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, I think I always enjoy being a performer too, but I also love song. Like I really like every single part of the music industry. Like I'd say, like I could see myself as a producer, songwriter, or performer. I'd say. So I'm not really sure where that'll be, but I guess a little bit of mystery is where it's got to go. So
you have a way of connecting with people that I find interesting. Why do you choose like, oh, that's G Love, I'm gonna try to connect with him. Oh, that's President Biden. I'm gonna try. Who else have you done that with, if anybody at all?
I'd say that I've really kind of done that. Like my method is like the worst thing that could ever happen is someone says, nope, that's not gonna happen. Like that's the worst thing. So like, why not reach out to people and see if they can help you? Like that's kind of been my main method of growing as a musician and as a person. Like always just take a chance, because when the worst thing that is no, and you already know that's the worst thing that could possibly happen, and there's still a chance that this person could say yes. I'd say that that's kind of my method of being a musician and connecting with people. I'd say like really Joe Biden and G Love have been the two main successes of that, but now currently it's kind of with some booking agents and stuff like that that I've reached out to that have been a huge help with booking gigs and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my main method of growing as a musician.
So how you mentioned booking agents? How did you? I guess the question I want to know is being a very young person within the industry. You're making all these connections. Are people just taking chances on you, or is it just the who you know knows another person?
I'd say it's a combination of both. I'd say like. I mean, obviously, when people see, like, oh, a 15-year-old kid is playing music, like, they're like, what is this? Like, is this even, like, worth my attention?
Right.
But I'd say it's a combination of people taking a chance and also just kind of connecting with people through other musicians I've known. Like, it's really, really amazing when musicians will kind of recommend me. Like, that's kind of what happened, which led me to getting into Music Fest, is that like I submitted on the Sonic Bids website and I didn't get it, but I was like, I'm not going to give up because I really want to play Music Fest because it's like such a cool festival. And I just kind of reached out to a couple people, and some musicians recommended me to play that festival, and it was just really cool that I was able to get into that just because of them recommending me to play this festival. So I'd say it's always a combination of both. I'd say.
Fair enough. So, what do you want to do in the future? Are there a few, I assume you're going to continue making music. Is there music in the works?
Yes. I'd say, yeah, I'm definitely want to put out some more albums and keep playing with Noah Gibney Trio. I'd say, I'm actually working on doing some songs right now for a new upcoming album. I mean, I'm not sure yet when that'll be released, but I'm definitely due for some new music to be put out on Spotify and stuff like that. So.
How do you market yourself?
I'd say with marketing, trying to think how I'd answer this. I usually like. Are you talking about more with gigs or more with
gigs yourself, your music? Here's one thing. Here's a funny quick side note. Every place I go, I've been to Tone Taylor's, I've been to Guitar Center, just for, random buying stuff. I always go back to the board, and I always see your card.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's funny. That's funny. That's amazing, actually. Yeah, I'd say you just always have to put yourself out there is kind of my marketing. Because if you don't put yourself out there, then no one's
gonna know.
No one will know. Like if you have the greatest song in the world but no one heard it, like then is it really the greatest song? Like, so that's why you got to put yourself and make sure to promote yourself as by even like business cards are great, and also something that I've been recently doing that's been a huge help is an email list. Yeah, so I just kind of post that. A link to subscribe to that, because what it does is like, I mean, even with like Facebook and Instagram, like those are kind of two main things for that. But I'd say with the email list, what it can do is like you can write like a message that sounds like personal, like, hey, it would be really great to, like, even though it's like a mass send, right, yeah. But it's like, hey, it would be really great to see you at a show. So
what are my upcoming dates?
Yep, and then I can like. Normally what I'll do is on every Monday I'll post the gigs that I have coming up, and just like other events, like I posted that I was going to be on this podcast or just stuff like that. And it seems to be a help because people can see everything just on one email. And I mean, a lot of people do check their email still though, but it seems to work. So that's why I'm going to keep using that too.
Yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to get on is email chains, and because I didn't realize how successful. I thought, oh, it's email.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's what I thought too. Yeah, but
it's snail mail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to like, because I didn't even know. Like, I'm subscribed to a couple of different email lists, and like, I realized like, oh, I actually do like use that like for some of my favorite musicians. Like, I'm on their email list. And I'll just be like, oh, I guess like a new song was released that I wouldn't really know about, because sometimes with like the algorithms and stuff on Facebook
for sure.
and Instagram, like it'll get lost in that. Yep. But like with an email list, it's 100% sending to you, and it's whether you open it or not. So, but yeah.
So, what are some really funny stories from you gigging around, or you can tell?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some really interesting stories, I'd say. Like, the more I've been playing, the more interesting things that I've had. I mean, like there's been some fun stories. I'm trying to think of something. Oh, well, here's something that was fun, was playing with G Love at TLA in Philadelphia. That was a really fun time. So what happened was, like, so he was doing this, kind of like pre-show party kind of thing. I think he calls it like G Love's pop-off. And he gave us tickets to get to that. And then there was like, I'd say, I think like 100 people probably got that. And it's like 1,000. So like 1/10 of the people that, went to this show, were at this private, or not private, pre-show pop-off concert. So and he decided, like, hey, you're here, Noah, so why don't you play a song with me? And I was like, he was like, why don't you play my guitar? But the thing is, I'm a left-handed guitar player, so I can't do that. But I had a feeling that this would be an issue. So my dad had, we brought my keyboard along, and it's funny. So I was like, go get the keyboard from, like, we weren't that far, but like, here's my dad, like, running with this giant bag. Like, it looked like it was, like, a body bag or something like that. But, and then I was able to play some of the songs we wrote together. And it was just, like, a really cool experience that led to more gigs, I'd say. Like, one of the people that was there owned a place in, I want to say, Briggersine. I think that's where it was, in New Jersey. And they offered me a gig for that. But it's just really cool. It was a really cool experience doing that. So
it's really interesting what you can do if you just have your instrument. This is something I've kind of done for a while now. I play piano as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I will always have my piano in my trunk. Always.
Yep.
'Cause first off, I'm lazy. Second off, it's like $100 keyboard, so it's not that. It feels like a Nord. It's a different story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I bring it around, and whenever open mic or if people, I go to a gig and they're like, hey, come on, you want to sit in?
Yeah.
Boom, there, easy.
Yep.
And then from there, it's because as a musician, you're always looking for opportunity, but to look for opportunity, it's what was it? It was preparation meets opportunity, or like something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But you got to be prepared for that opportunity to pop up. That's the gist of the point. If you have your piano, your instrument, or whatever, and you're going out to a gig, and at least you know the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make sure you know the person.
Yeah.
You can ask and be like, hey, you want a saxophone on this, or you want whatever you play on that. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. And most likely, if you know them, they'll probably say, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Even, like, no matter where I go, I mean, I play guitar too, so I think that's a little bit easier to carry around than my keyboards.
Sure. Right.
But like, I'll just bring that, like, if I'm going on vacation to the beach, and like, actually, like, when I'm traveling, that's kind of when I get the most inspired, because it's like a new way of looking at the world. I'd say, like, if I'm at the beach in New Jersey or something like that, like, it's a different experience, which will cause, like, my brain to think differently and write differently. So that's why I like traveling. Like, you'll hear that a lot of the touring musicians, like, will go to, like, Japan for a couple of months, or like Jamaica or something like that, just to get, like, a new perspective and get inspired. So
what do you think inspires you the most?
I'd say the thing that inspires me the most to play music is just because I have such a passion for it. Like, I'm always happy when I'm making music. Like, it was funny. Like, I had like school for like 2 days, just because it started on Wednesday of last week, and I was like, oh, this really, really sucks. As like, I'd much rather be playing music like I did all summer. And then, like, I had a gig like the Thursday, the second day I had school, like, right after that. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven right now. Like, it's like, it just always makes me so happy when I'm playing music, so that's why I continue to do that. So,
have you ever? You mentioned traveling. Have you ever gone on tour?
I haven't really gone on a tour, but I mean, I mainly been staying to like the East Coast, kind of Mid-Atlantic region, I'd say. But mainly, I've been playing in just Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I actually have a show coming up in New York too. So I'm really excited for that. So.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Playing in New York?
Yeah, it's in Queens. It's at this place called Bar Frida in October. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there, actually.
Yeah, I've actually never been there. So what is it like?
You're gonna have fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Keep it there. It's a great space, I think. And well, I haven't been there in a long time.
Huh.
I'll preface with that. We have another one of your songs,
Cool. Yeah, let's give that a listen.
Shooting Star. Tell me about it.
So Shooting Star is kind of like a self-positivity song. Like kind of like when I was writing this music, it was also at like the same time when the pandemic was kind of happening, and I wasn't really sure where my music career was going to go. So it was kind of just like the point of the song is like basically kind of like looking at myself almost like in like the mirror almost and saying like, "Hey, you're doing okay. Everything's going to be all right." That's kind of the and like that's kind of the main message is like to be a shooting star and not to like worry. I'd say that's kind of the main message.
With that said, and this is on your EP as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
With G Love.
Yep.
This is Shooting Star by Noah Gibney. And that was Shooting Star by Noah Gibney. It um it sounds very much Beatles.
Yeah, that's definitely for that song. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of mainly talking about the lyrical stuff, but it's cool. So for melodically and harmonically with the instrumentation of that, I was definitely there were a couple of influences on that, especially with the ending with like the yoo-hoo kind of part. Like that was kind of like a John Lennon inspired thing. Yeah, like kind of like that Imagine kind of thing. I thought that was kind of cool to add like when I was working on that project. And also another influence for that was kind of the Doors and kind of that kind of stuff too, like with the Rhodes kind of sounds and stuff like that. But definitely for that song, it was kind of 60s kind of stuff for that.
What are your influences overall?
I'd say I kind of have a couple of different influences that kind of are part of my music. I'd say, and they're all kind of different too. Like there's a lot of different genres that are kind of involved in my music. I'd say that kind of collects for my sound. But I'd say definitely something that's like more subtly heard is definitely the Grateful Dead kind of music. I'd say with some of especially with the live stuff. I mean, it's tough to replicate that in these recordings, but especially with the live stuff, with some of a lot of the improvising and taking solos and stuff like that. Like that's definitely has a huge influence on me, and definitely like it's kind of a secondhand influence because Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead were influenced by jazz music, and I'm also influenced by jazz music a bit too. And also I'd say something else that someone else that has a big influence on me is this is probably more heard. Is Bill Withers, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah, just a lot of, especially with the newer music that I've been making. I'd say like I really kind of got into his music right after he unfortunately passed away during the pandemic. That's when I really got into his music, and just like his whole vibe is just amazing with just like the soul kind of stuff and how it's just like laid back, and it's just amazing music. Trying to think of some other influences too. I mean, also another kind of that kind of combines the soul music and the jam band music of which kind of like it's what Noah Gibney Trio is kind of based off of is the Allman Brothers, like kind of with how they have that soul kind of feeling with like the organ and the I'd say that definitely has their music has a huge influence on me too, and definitely like the classics like the Beatles. And actually, there's some newer guys that I've been really getting into, like in this, like obviously all those were 20th century musicians, but some 21st. Yeah,
that's
I
weird
know.
to say.
That's kind of an interesting thing to say. But like music from the 2000s and 2010s that I've been really getting into is there's some really cool music out now, like by this guy Leon Bridges. Definitely has an influence if you ever heard of him. And also this newer guy named Steven Sanchez is kind of like he actually kind of has an influence on the 50s, I'd say. And actually, a guy from the area named Watson Mack was playing drums with him in the band, and that's kind of how I got into him because I know Watson a bit. But it's like a lot of it seems like now like there's a lot of different like throwback kind of music out there, like especially with if you know Silk Sonic with Bruno Mars on there.
Even if you even know the Postmodern Jukebox.
Huh? I'm not sure if I heard of them, but I gotta listen to them then.
What they do is they take modern pop songs and 65s them or puts them back in the 50s.
That's cool.
Rearranges them, and they're wildly popular.
That's cool. I think actually my piano teacher told me about that or something like that. Yeah, I was gonna say when you said that sounded like super familiar, but I definitely have to check them out then.
Yeah. So we mentioned all of these things that in the past that you've done are gone. What are you doing right now?
Currently, yeah, like as I was saying, I'd say just focusing on songwriting. I'd say like I definitely need like I'm working on a new album. As I said, like a lot of that stuff. Like I've definitely gotten better since some of this recording. Even though it's only been like a year. But and also I've been mainly focusing on gigging too. Like I've been like this week actually was a lot like the most gigs I've played in a week. It was like 4 gigs.
Let's say it's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, so I was just kind of hitting all different areas and stuff like that, and just kind of expanding my music out to different places. Like like this year, I spent a lot of time playing music at the beaches. Like actually just this Friday I was in where was I? Cape May. That was my first time there, but it's cool to play in different places just to see because different people appreciate music differently. So I'd say mainly what I've been doing is just gigging and kind of defining what my sound is. I'd say and working on writing new songs, and I'm looking forward to releasing some new music soon. So,
speaking of what you're doing presently, you have a gig right after this, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I'm actually playing a duo gig at the B2 Bistro from 3 to 6. It's my first time there. I think that's actually their first time doing live music there. So they reached out to me about that. So I actually have a new project. So Chris Kerr, who's plays bass in Noah Gibney Trio, we've been mainly kind of doing some. It's called Noah Gibney and Chris Kerr duo kind of stuff. So it has like we play almost like every genre you can think of for that. So like there's definitely something that you would like there. Like and also it's cool because he had a solo career too. So I get to play some of his music. He gets to play some of my music, and we both get to mix in some of the covers we like to play. So it's a lot of fun. And also, I'm on, like for Noah Gibney Trio, I'm mainly just on keys for that, but I get to play guitar and keys for this new project. And also, Chris Kerr doesn't just play bass, he plays like 8 different string instruments. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting playing with him, and especially because we also do a gig every week at the Hitching Post in Leesport, PA. So playing every week has just been great in getting us like tight, like kind of how like the Beatles played like every day. I think like it's kind of like to an extent like where they'd play like 8-hour gigs and stuff like that, and that's how they got better and put in the 10,000 hours. So I'm just kind of doing something similar to that, and it's definitely been helping me in my playing. Like the more you play, the more comfortable it is, and the more comfortable I get, and the more I can challenge myself, I'd say.
What is one area in your songwriting that you really want to push? Because you mentioned you're working on your songwriting skills.
Yes.
What's one area you really want to push into?
I think like now, like that I'm 15, like for the album that I released, the Serendipity Sessions, a lot of that was written when I was 13. So now I've kind of seen the world a little bit better. I'd say like a 15-year-old knows more about the world than a 13-year-old. And obviously, like as I get older, it'll get better lyrically because I just know the world better. I'd say, yeah.
So we also for that album, this is a question I wanted to ask, but I forgot about.
Sure.
Is there a main theme in that album? Was it a planned thing, like a typical album is, or was it more of a concept? Or
I'd say there's kind of like it's kind of a mix between. I'd say it's definitely kind of about like positive, kind of like the positivity is the main message I say throughout the whole album, with all the different tracks. Like with the title being the Serendipity Sessions. It's kind of like serendipity has kind of been a word that has really been helping me with also kind of what I said with mystery, that the mystery song, it kind of ties into that. I'd say where it's like just letting things happen at the right time. And if it didn't happen, there's obviously a reason for that, and just kind of trusting the universe, I'd say. And then also some of the songs are just straight positivity. Like I have 2 songs on there called Down the Shore and All Summer Long. So those are kind of just like positive summer songs. So I'd say the main message would be positivity for that album. So
speaking of Down the Shore,
yeah, I guess we should play that one.
We have that one.
Yeah, we do have that one. So
so it's more of a happiness, chill vibe, or
I'd say it takes more influences from New Orleans. It's interesting. It's called Down the Shore, but it's kind of like rhythmically and with the music to it, it kind of has, like you'll hear it has like a New Orleans kind of feel, and it's a really kind of funky kind of song, I'd say.
It's funny because Down the Shore, it's a term around here, I've noticed.
Yeah,
I'm going down the shore.
Down the shore, yeah. That's actually G-Love kind of, because he's like me and him, like he's from Philly and I'm kind of from the Philly area. So yeah, like people say that when they go to New Jersey, like they're not saying we're going to the beach. They say we're going down the shore. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I'm not from around here.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah. So whenever I heard that, I was like, okay,
yep,
going down the shore. That's awesome. So it's a funky, chill.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And also kind of the message is like a positive song about just having a great time at a shore. So
with all that said, this is Down the Shore by Noah Gibney.
It's a beautiful day.
That's definitely one of my favorite songs, I'd say.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a really great vibe to it. That's definitely one of my favorite ones for sure. Yeah.
Did you get actual musicians to play like the horns and all that jazz, or was it some synths?
Yeah, that was kind of more synthesizers for that particular part. Actually, for the album, I played everything for that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, drums, bass, guitar, keys. Yeah, but
That's cool. So we have some of general questions that I like to ask most of or all of my guests. What is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
I think like the best. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, that's a good question. I say the best advice is that like there's no way that you could make it in music if you don't love it. So I mean, if you're gonna go all the way in, you got to go all the way in. So that's probably, I think that might be the best advice that I've ever gotten. And then also, I think another piece of advice I've gotten is, I know it's hard, but sometimes you just got to be patient with, and because sometimes like things take time to go through, especially in this business.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, those are definitely two great pieces of advice that I've gotten.
I'll say it's people say, "Well, I'm going to pop up and go viral." It's so rare that people go viral. It's so don't expect to come into it, and because it takes longevity is your success, right?
Yeah, even like people like that you think went viral. I mean, there's a lot of things led up to that. That's just like the one thing. Like you were doing a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden it just peaked. So.
And most of the times, it's that one thing that went viral. It's that only one thing, and some, one-hit wonders exist for a reason.
Yeah.
So if you do it long enough, you'll gain a following. This is a long-term business.
Yeah,
plan.
For sure. Yep,
for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking about that too, is that like the thing that I like the most about music is that I can do that for the rest of my life if I want to.
And it'll always be new.
Yeah, of course. And then, like, if you're like an athlete, like you can't really do that. Like, there's gonna be a certain time where you peak and you fall. But I'd say for music, I can just keep growing as I get older. So,
what is one of the biggest mistakes that maybe you have made, or you've seen other people make within your industry? How can we prevent that for future generations?
I would say I'm trying to think. These are good questions. I'd say the biggest thing is actually like kind of being impatient. Like that's kind of been something, like I'm just an impatient kind of person if people that know me. But I'd say just let it, like following kind of following the message of my songs has actually been helpful. And just kind of letting things take their course is what I would say is something that people sometimes struggle with. And then that's what I would say would be something that you want to stay away from is just like worrying that things aren't going to work out, because if you want it bad enough, then I think it'll happen. So
that's one of my biggest mistakes actually is being impatient and then overreacting.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I want this person on, and then I call them and they're like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
It's tough. I mean, but like people usually come around.
People are cool.
Yeah,
but you gotta you gotta test your know the limits, know the boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also like different people take different times to like catch on to what you're doing. Like I mean, like some people get it right away. Some people it takes a couple weeks. Some people it takes a couple months. Like it's just everyone's different. Everyone's perspective on you is different.
Yes.
So I think the thing is to just like if it's something worth having, then it'll happen at some point. So.
And like we said, longevity is your success. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have to be patient no matter what.
Yep.
What is one way? Oh, have you ever dealt with rejection? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about like having like when the worst thing that people can say is no. I mean, like also sometimes no could be no just means no for right now. So I mean, like
of course, yeah.
Even like I'm only 15, so like if someone were to say no right now, like it's not ready for now. I mean, like I still have many more years to achieve that goal. If I didn't get it right now, I can get it later. So I think that's the best way to handle sometimes when people just say no, this isn't the right fit. And also, I mean, like sometimes things just aren't the right fit. Like I mean, if it's like a death metal club, like they're not gonna have a country band playing. So I think you just have to like wait for the right fit. So,
What's one of the most memorable lessons you've ever learned?
I would say, um, something like just to like don't worry about like sometimes like what I've noticed is just like currently like sometimes like at certain places like the crowd isn't always perfect at like certain periods of time, but then like I say that also goes back to being patient is just letting things like sometimes like for like the first couple of minutes and stuff like it'll be like less people there than you expect and you're like oh man, but then like after like 20 minutes or so like people will start coming because like everyone like no one goes there like at a gig or something like that. No one's always just like right on the dot with time. So I'd say again
right.
with the patience, that's kind of a big lesson of advice that I've got.
If you could tell one thing to your future self, what would it be?
Um,
As opposed to your past self.
I'd say like I'm just kind of like one thing I'd say is I'm just wondering like how will I get to where I get? Like I'm just curious like how things will pan out for me, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
On the inverse, what's one thing you wish you would tell your younger self?
That I'd say just like there's no need to worry about where you are right now because things will come soon. So,
What do you define as success?
I would say success comes with being happy with what you are doing. Like whether like if I'm playing music as a living, like if that's what you would want, then that would and like really what I'm trying to say is that if you're happy with what you're doing, I'd say it's a success. So as long as you like fit the needs that you want, then I'd say you are a successful musician.
Last question. Where can people find you?
I can like I play around PA a lot and also in New Jersey and now New York. So I'd say you can definitely come out to a show if you follow if you click the link tree. That's in the link
That's
of
in the
the
link
thing.
in the
Yep,
description. Yep.
it's in the link to the page. If you click that, that'll take you to everything that you need about like shows and stuff like that. And where I'm playing, and if I'm dropping new music and stuff like that, and some articles on me. So if you're interested in the story and some of the songs you've heard, it definitely would be great to see you at a show or something like that. And definitely feel free to click that link tree and make sure to check out what I have to offer.
You have some gigs coming up as well.
Yes, I have some really cool events coming up in September that I'm really happy about. I'd say so. Some of the more basic kind of things that are happening is every other Tuesday. This is also posted on the Facebook and Instagram. I have an open mic. So if you're a musician,
Didn't you just start that?
yeah, I
Recently,
started it. Yeah, a couple of months ago. So it's a great space at Chatty Monks in West Reading. That's definitely if you're a musician and you're looking to start connecting with some other musicians. That's definitely a place where you'd want to be. And as I said, it's every other week, so it's not this week, but it'll be the next week. So definitely check out that on my page, and if you're a musician, definitely would be great to see you there. But then also, I have some other cool shows that are happening too. Like actually, next week I'll be playing at this place closer towards Philly called Chaplin's. That's a cool music venue. I think it's actually maybe Chaplin, the I think actor maybe did some stuff like started there or something like that. I think that's why it's named that. But that's a cool venue, and there's some other cool bands that are kind of similar to the sound I have. So that would be a great place to explore my music and some other bands' music. And then also another cool show that I'm looking forward to is in Philadelphia at the Hard Rock Cafe on September 25th.
That's a good land.
Yeah, I got that through a promoter, so that'll be cool. And then also I'm playing here in Lancaster on September 16th at Columbia Kettleworks with my trio. So that event, more details will be posted for that. And maybe if you're tuning in from Lancaster, it would be cool to see you there too.
With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. This is the Story Podcast. If you want to follow us, you can search us up anywhere, wherever you do your streaming, wherever you do your whatever, YouTubes, TikToks, all the things. You can look up The Story Corey Rosen. That's CORYROSEN. Please be sure to follow, like, subscribe, share with your friends if you have enjoyed this episode. Tonight we have another episode popping out. We have a rapper from Harrisburg. His name is Genius. And this week it is filled with people. We have Tony Wayne, he's one of the guitarists for Blues on the Loose, and he has his own project, AP3, and other things that he's got going on. We have Quentin Jones from QDK, who is coming on. He's a local guy who plays all around the nation. It's a really cool dude. And we have photographer Vince DeStefano coming on Thursday. If you really want to support us, we have merchandise and stickers for sale with the shirt on the front. Shirt. We have the shirt on the front. We have the shirt and hoodies with the logo on the front and the first 50 guests on the back. With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.